Good morning, Rick. How you doing?
Good morning, Keith. I'm great. How about you?
Good. It's always a gift to see you, man. I mean, always,
Well, thank
always.
you. You need to get up here and enjoy this 20-degree weather.
Yeah, you know how I like the cold, right?
Well, you can bring your hand warmers. It's all right.
Okay. Yes, and toe warmers.
And no warmers.
uh, but yeah, I thought we'd do a podcast titled "The Things That Can Take You Down," and then have you kick it off.
Great. Well, we were talking off camera before we started about some of the things that each of us struggle with, and one of the things that I struggle with is recurring issues that I just don't seem to be able to to get a handle on, or at least they keep coming up and coming up and coming up. And I'm not sure what the best way is to solve any of these beyond what we've just talked about in many of these podcasts already. But I just want to let the viewers know that they are not alone if they have these kinds of feelings that come up, and just to be mindful of them. I think one of the things that is sort of overlaid on top of all of this, every kind of issue that we have, I think we tend to think that, you know, however that moment transpires, whatever temporary feeling that we have, that's permanent for us. So I guess the first thing that I struggle with is when I'm in a terrible mood, or I'm in not my best. Maybe I've lost some sleep. I haven't worked out for a while. I'm coming off of being sick for a bit, or I've had a setback at work or my relationship or whatever. That mood can color how I look at all of life. And so my first issue is I always have to remember to try not to assign permanency, to a temporary feeling, not to assign truth to a feeling of negativity when it's just something that, I'm caught in a moment. So that's one area. Let me tell you about one other one, then I'll throw it over to you. Um, the other thing that I struggle with is I have this issue of filtering out the positive. And I think what I mean by that is like, okay, let's say that in the course of a day, nine great things happen to me. Maybe someone gives me a compliment, or I find out that I've won something, something small in my practice, or a check comes in that I've been waiting for a while, or whatever positive things happen to you. If nine of them happen and then there's one bad thing that happens, usually I'll throw the positives out and just think of my life being unbalanced and basically negative. And when it's 9 to 1.
Yeah,
So those are two things that affect me. What do you think?
I love those that you said that affect you, and from people that I've talked to, those two things that you named, they take down a lot of people. People are saying those things take them down, and I think you're spot on, Rick. That technique that you suggested for the first one is so good about assigning permanency to whatever your mind or your heart is feeling in the moment. I mean, just like this is always going to be this way, and then living as if it is. That is so good. Is reminding yourself this is not permanent. This will pass, and that is just so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I think part of with that first one, I guess the way that I used to think was if it was going to pass, I had to make it pass. Really,
Yeah.
all I had to do was just relax, just let go, and then it would just pass right through me. But before I didn't do that. It's like I got to make this happen. Whether it's calling somebody, and whatever happened hit my stuff, and I'm calling them, and I'm hitting their stuff, and then whoever they hit too, right? And then I'm just causing this whole mess. And then I feel better, and I walk on with my day, but I left all this collateral damage behind me, you know, because I forgot that this is not permanent. And if I can understand that this is an internal conflict, or that internally I'm assigning permanency to this, if I can get that, then if I was the one who assigned it, then I'm the one who can, you know, deselect that and then just let it pass right through me. Rick, that is so good. I'm going to learn. I'm going to keep that one. Uh,
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. Let me give you one more. I think
Great.
that's common that takes me down quite a bit, and that's we've talked about this many times: judging or labeling. So it's a classic cognitive distortion, where you take an example of something that's happened, and it's happened as a result of behavior or an omission of doing something on the part of another person. So you then decide that because this one thing happened with this person, you're labeling that person such and such. That person is, you sort of carved out of your existence. You don't want anything to do with that person because of this one issue that came up. First of all, my experience has been my perception is usually wrong. It's like dealing with icebergs. When you see a situation, the situation is caused by what you think is the cause you identify, but it's like an iceberg. The cause that you have identified is usually like a tiny bit on top of the water, but the real story is 2/3 of the iceberg below it, which you have no clue about, right? So
Yes.
you don't know the circumstance of what happened with that person. And so instead of just saying, I don't know the whole story and letting it go, which is what I think is appropriate, I start making up a whole story based on the visibility of the top of the iceberg without knowing the whole story. So I got an opinion of this person, and then, I've got a blame thing going, I've got a judgment thing going, it's one of those defects that really has cost me a lot in my life. And so I try, when I'm mindful of this, I do my best. I try really hard now not to judge anyone and just look at it and say, man, I don't know what the heck he was facing. I don't know what the story was with her. There's a lot of stuff that's unknown, and who cares? My opinion doesn't matter. What if I knew the whole story? So what? Do I need to label it? How does that affect me? What's the point? Other than me feeling superior and feeling like I would have handled it better. That never would have happened to me because I would have fill in the blank, which is a bunch of crap. It's nonsense. Anyway, that's a takedown too, labeling, judging. And the less I do of it, the happier I am, the more peaceful and calm inside.
Rick, I just love all these that you've named. Two of those three are definitely on my list. Uh, a judging one, well, you know that about me. That's something that I've made a complete practice with. But I think what you've shared today, in terms of your own experiences of things that can take you down, a lot of people will be able to completely relate to that. And I just want to thank you for just leading this episode because I got nothing to add. It's beautiful. I mean, you hit it all, man. I thank you for your insight. I'm so glad that we got 2 weeks in a row of having you join us and we doing this together. I love you, man.
I love you too, Keith. And we never get over it. It's always a situation where just being mindful of it, just that you're a human being and these things come up, just being mindful of it is the start to dealing with it. And the start of dealing with it hopefully leads to either neutralizing it, getting rid of it, for the ultimate goal of making ourselves more peaceful, more happy, more connected with others.
I love it, Rick. Thank you so much, Rick. I love you.
I love you. We'll see you next time.